may think that, well, it's the end of October, we're pretty much winding down the hurricane season. Not so fast.
I know. We have Hurricane Rina to tell you about. It's in the Western Caribbean. Let's go to our colleague Carl Parker with the very latest. I mean, Rina there just off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. What are we expecting with it?
Well, we don't think it's going to move very quickly, and that's going to make for a very difficult track forecast, but a lot of things are favorable in terms of its strengthening. The upper level environment's generally favorable. There's certainly a lot of warmth in the water, which I'll show you in a moment. So we do have a new advisory from the Hurricane Center. Still a 75-mile-an-hour storm, a Category 1 hurricane, so named at 2 o'clock this afternoon Eastern Time, just 3 hours after it was a minimal tropical storm. So it rapidly intensified through the middle of the day today. Now moving west-northwest at 3 miles an hour, so very, very slow movement off to the north and to the west. The pressure down just a little bit as of the recent recon fix. There's the visible picture. You can see the deep convection around the center, that sort of spiral banding that's been showing up very well this afternoon. And you can see little hints of the eye here showing up as well, and some big bursts of convection occurring. There was one came around the west side, now the south side. So unlike earlier today when the center was displaced somewhat from the deepest convection, now that deep convection really wrapping around that center, and we think that it may continue to intensify. Now, sometimes when storms don't move very much, what they do is they churn up the water, and oftentimes there will be colder water below, and that will gradually weaken the system. I want to show you what's going on with the water temperatures in the Caribbean. This is from NOAA now, and what you can see here is water temperatures that are well above the required value. There is 26 Celsius right there, so anything that is yellow and above, getting up into orange, is warm enough. You can see it's certainly that way all through the Caribbean. It's even warmer as you get into the central part of the Caribbean. But what's interesting is that as we look at the depth of the warm water, and that's important, you notice here that in the Western Caribbean in particular, we're talking about values getting down to about 125 meters deep. And so even as the storm sits out here and churns up this water, it's only going to be churning up warm water from below as opposed to cooler water. And for that reason, it's got a lot of potential energy. Also interesting here from the same website, you can see how the sea surface height anomalies are actually very high. That indicates that the water is so warm here that the water is actually a little bit taller. The height of the sea actually a little bit higher relative to the rest of the area. So there's plenty of energy for the storm. Now let's talk about where it's going to go. Difficult forecast once again. One of our more reliable global models just kind of keeps it out here and turns it around in a little loop offshore. Some of the other models bring it closer to the coast. Whatever happens, it's going to be happening slowly, we think. In fact, over the next couple of days, it probably only lifts off towards the northwest and stays offshore, but does not make it onshore. Might not be until Thursday when we see that, although it could be sooner if it were to work more towards the northwest. And you notice here that it could very well be a very strong storm. At this point, we're not looking for quite as strong of a storm, but possibly a major hurricane as it gets up into this area. So certainly a lot to be concerned about in the Yucatan there, Cozumel, Cancun, Playa del Carmen, and then beyond that, it's possible that it moves up into the Gulf of Mexico and may yet be a threat to the U.S. But we've got a long time to figure that out, and we certainly will.